gentleman joining me today has received a 5 minute standing ovation at Cannes, and this is his first feature film. So, Mohit Agarwal, a warm welcome to you on Filme Shilmy, and thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, yes, it's a pleasure. I'm so happy I'm here. Yes.
Right. Look, I mean, it's a huge honor. I mean, your film is premiering at Cannes, you're leading the film. I mean, tell me, what emotions are going through your head? Have you had time to dissect it all?
Uh, well, to be honest, today is when I'm getting really tired. I think now, physically and both emotionally, I'm like drained because so much has happened. It's been a little too overwhelming. Uh, it's been 4 years since we shot that film. So, just when I was not sure what's happening with it, suddenly I got the news of it going to Cannes. And within 2 weeks of that I was at Cannes. So it happened so quickly. And even there, I mean, because it's a film which could really land either way with what how the audience picks it. It's not like the usual Indian film. Like it's a different film. So it made me pretty scared, or I was nervous before uh, the premiere. But after all of that, now it just feels surreal sometimes, like what just happened. And like and it has been absolutely like beautiful for me. Like so many emotions that I had to go through, and now I'm trying to process them. Okay, what really happened? And nothing makes me more happier than being able to tell a story in front of cinema lovers and kind of get that kind of reaction. It just makes you feel really good.
Absolutely. I mean, your character, Guru, he's sexually repressed and volatile, and he seems to be quite trapped in dysfunctionalities of society as well as his family. So, a
Yes,
very complex role and a very heavy role, I think, for sure. So, how
right.
emotionally taxing was it for you in terms of getting into the mindset and into that role?
Well, it was taxing. Post the shoot, I had to really like mix meditation, yoga, a bit of therapy, all of that to kind of get out of it. Like it was an intense character because some of the things that Guru does are poles apart to who I am. And to be honest, like pretty much the whole character. I come from a very privileged background with a good upbringing, a great school that I studied in great parts of India, like the big cities. I drive a car here. I have too many friends. Uh, but Guru is right opposite. He's a lower class uh, Agra city boy who's just been deprived of everything. And but when I had to put Guru's shoes on, is when I actually could feel somewhat the repression that everybody has in them, and it's not just Guru. Everybody has a bit of Guru in them, but in a country like India, nobody really talks about it. You know what I mean? Like it's a subject where people it's part of not their public life, not their private life, but their secret life that happens in really like their personal time. And whether it is sex chat rooms, whether it is just looking at a woman with a particular kind of gaze. Now, a lot of those gazes could be really really wrong, and thus so many things happen in India that shouldn't happen. But I got a chance to have a closer look on why these things happen. And sometimes it's easy to call them mentally ill, but if you call Guru ill, who's actually the only one who's honestly asking questions, then I feel the rest of them who are wearing a mask of the society, I feel are mentally ill, like a bit more than Guru, to be honest. So just to get into that character, I mean, I had to go through a process where first I had to really first I was the it was a similar process in terms of what Guru does in the film, but very different to who I am, because I was rebellion initially, like rebellious. Like I really didn't like what was happening, and it made me restless and it made me anxious and all of that, till I found that gaze one day, or I was comfortable with my skin, and I managed to strip all my clothes down in front of Kanu, and we did a few naked workshops. And yeah, we did a few naked workshops with Kanu, with Prashant Singh, who casted for the film. And that's when I kind of it gave me a different kind of a realization as a man, and just to be comfortable with my whole body, and then what all goes through, and all the sexual repression inside my body I had to dig in, and kind of seclude myself from my friends, from my family for a little while, stop driving, stop drinking, none of that, no sex, no masturbation, because I had to try and go closer to feeling what a deprived, repressed boy might be feeling. And obviously, when you go through that and you have some intense scenes, post it takes you a while to kind of find that balance of the right gaze, the right way. I think my respect for women have really changed. Like, it has changed completely. Uh, that's when we realize how we taught, or how the education system, all of that is a little bit at fault. And I wish there was more stuff taught about sexuality, and understanding physical spaces and all of that.
Mhm. Now, films like these are very special because I
Mhm.
feel like, there's, कुछ फिल्में ऐसे होती हैं जो पब्लिक को जागरूक करने के लिए बनी होती है, to awaken the audiences, as well
Yeah,
as you have
yeah,
some films which basically can be patronizing and look down at the country you're from. Whereas I
right,
feel like with Kanu's movies, especially with Italy, I found that his films kind of, in a way, awaken the audiences. It's more the
right,
first part rather than looking
right.
down at India. So for you, I think as an actor as well, because obviously he is representing at Cannes as well. I mean, I'm sure that wasn't the whole idea when you were shooting the film, but
Yeah, yeah, of course not.
to what extent did you have to really get that balance right? Because you were talking about balance, right?
Uh, I don't think we were even thinking of getting that balance right, because it might be a very difficult story to tell in India, but we had to tell it in the most truthful way, and how Kanu actually visioned it, because it is a subject that suddenly there won't be masses that would relate to it, and it's
Mhm.
not that kind of film. And if we try to even look towards that side, then it'll lose what the film is supposed to do. If it is supposed to make you uh, feel that discomfort and ask questions, then that is what the film is supposed to do. So for us as actors, or the whole crew, or Kanu himself, our goal as a team was to deliver the story as honestly as it gets, and from there on, see who all in India can watch it. And again, it won't be I don't think it's looking down upon the country. It is definitely, like you said, he Kanu is good at raising questions, and I feel
Yeah.
that that is the main thing. I think it's high time we start talking about sexuality, or repressions, or male gaze, or so much that we don't actually really talk about. The patriarchy has been it's been weird, and it's been going on since, like, decades of centuries, I feel sometimes. So you can't change it in a day, but if there is a person with a vision, wanting to ask questions about it, then I think it should be attempted in its purest form.
I think disassociating yourself from the character is a very tough thing for actors, and I'm always very fascinated to explore this side of things because
Right,
obviously, this, like you mentioned, the film does explore really strong themes like misogyny, toxic
right,
masculinity, and stuff like that. Domestic abuse as well, if I'm not mistaken.
right.
So again, for you to completely disassociate yourself from Mohit, from Guru, I mean, that must have been a very mammoth of a task as well, though, right?
It was because one, you found out a couple of more truths that I probably wasn't aware of. Digging in my own internal body and figuring out my repressions, or how it all, what the truth might be in sexual repression sometimes, or just how deprived or how frustrated Guru is, to come back and then tell myself I can't be that privileged guy in my head again, uh, because now I'm really really grateful for some of the things that I have, and like, I can take my life forward from here. But initially, I remember when the workshop got over, I couldn't look into the eyes of my own female friends, like I couldn't look at women, because I have a particular kind of a gaze in the film, and it should look like I want sex all the time. Now, to when the film got over and I have to really look at people, and I've spent 6 months trying to be that guy, To just come out of it wasn't like a 1 day, 1 week, 1 month thing. I had to like gradually come out of it, and also kind of be fine with some of the things that really exist in the society, and they are going to take time, and not turn with collective thing for a while. So for me to accept some kind of truths as Mohit, to what I was before the film, and was it, I guess.
Mm, right. Now I think with the film like Agra, it's very interesting. You were saying that it's not a commercial film or stuff like that. But one thing that I have been saying and observing rather is there is a sense, there is a demand for films which deliver harsh truths. I mean, if we look in the recent times, whether it's the Kerala story, Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway, Banda, for example, on Z5,
Sure.
there are some very hard-hitting films which have also connected with the audience as well. So do you
Right.
think we're in a time now where maybe audiences are opening up now and actually willing to observe these conversations on the silver
I
screen?
still think it's a 50-50 because I know how difficult it is going to be to try and sell this film in India and trying to get this story across. So sometimes it just depends on how hard the truth has to hit. And I do feel sometimes like the times are getting better, but obviously I've seen films not work at all. The good thing is there are more platforms, as there's more opportunities for different kind of stories to come across. That's the positive we can look at. But I do feel I don't know how much of those times are changing because yeah, not everybody is ready to dive in this kind of truth. I feel like it's still not easy stories to tell, and it's not just Kanu. I've seen other directors also face uh difficulties in trying to sell stories which either are uh, a little politically uh, or just in subject a little jarring to the general society. uh, they are sometimes not that easy to sell. Saying that, there have been a lot of online platforms now, and obviously from before the opportunity because of these online platforms, they have increased. uh, but it just depends from story to story, I really feel.
Hmm. And I think also it's the intention of the filmmaker. I feel as well.
Yeah.
Massively. I
Yeah.
think see the audiences you cannot trick them anymore. I think that's the thing that
Yeah, I mean, they've seen stuff around the world now. It's all available to them.
yeah, for sure. Now, I want to go back to your craft. Now
Mm.
I'm really keen to know a bit more about Guru because I think it's so fascinating to see a film like this. I mean, your character is age 25, and I know you kind of had mentioned earlier about, you had to kind of tap into certain spaces, but I want to expand that part a bit more. I feel like for this, you had to obviously, embrace that vulnerability and volatility as well in
Yeah,
you as a person.
yeah.
But do you kind of feel like when you're looking at Guru's transition and journey, and obviously it's significantly different from yours, did you feel like you had to tap into a space of when you were 25 and perhaps in a position where you felt vulnerable and very uh,
Uh,
volatile as well?
to be honest, at 28, I did that film.
Hmm.
And I played a 24, sorry, 25-year-old boy. But when that vulnerability came and it happened, and I think it was beyond any age. Like, I was, if even if I was 35 at that point, what I ended up feeling was really like at an extreme vulnerable, and uh, like it was edgy at a lot of points what I felt inside, like because again, I'm saying some of these things even we don't we're almost unaware, like as growing up. So whether it was 25 or even let's say school, or while we are at university, I mean, we don't really talk about this stuff. But if I was suddenly made to live it in my own body, pretty much as a subject, it was, yeah, really jarring and disturbing initially. But I had to approach it through some kind of vulnerability for me to truthfully ask questions. As a guy that everybody is looking at and saying he's mad, like he's doing all the wrong things. Now, the process, in fact, made me realize how I don't want to be doing wrong things, but just to play guru. Uh, I had to dive into some of that, like which is really like it shook me like so many times, and just I realized how dangerous sometimes being vulnerable can be as well, because it makes you want to do things which your honest self wants to do, and it reacts in the most honest way. Some people say while you're having sex, you're at your most honest form. So even the whole sexuality for me kind of changed, and I got a very different lens on it. Like, if you talk about upbringing in some of these schools in Delhi and where I come from, as good as the education is, there's so much hidden stuff that you don't know, and there's certain kind of there's a way how boys grow up in Delhi.
Mm.
Um, you know what I mean? And that's pretty much like so many places in India. Uh, so just to be fine with the past and then kind of be fine with guru's truth, which I had to believe in. uh yeah, I mean, that was the difficult bit for me. I was scared of being vulnerable a lot of times. I was like, I could feel a little bit of what Guru must have felt when people locked him in rooms and hit him, and while he was just trying to ask questions, and eventually he grew up into this thing which people, it is wrong for the society, but I could feel what he felt. He had questions that nobody was ready to answer, I guess.
एक फिल्म के लिए पूरी सिस्टम को चेंज करना तो इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल बट क्या उम्मीद है आपसे इस फिल्म से इन टर्म्स ऑफ
यार,
एक्चुअली कन्वर्सेशंस एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट
मुझे तो ये लगता है कि अगर ऐसे चार डायरेक्टर चार विजन करके ऐसी चार स्टोरीज कहने जाएं, तो एक ऑडियंस which I'm hoping is becoming smarter will raise this question, will accept these kind of stories, and it will start on a very domestic level where families can talk to each other. It was beautiful, the kind of conversation I had with my family over sexuality, which we hadn't done in the 25 years of me growing up. It
वाओ
was beautiful when I ended up like, it's a difficult film sometimes for my parents to accept, but when that conversation happened, I kind of understood how like, you just have to talk. It's not that bad, you just have to talk, but because there's so much secrecy, uh it just a person is just living that thing inside of him, and we don't know whether he's struggling with it or he's whether he's embraced it, like, uh so yeah, I mean, my hope with this is that this story obviously spreads enough for people to ask questions and not diss somebody just saying that he's mad, but kind of really understanding that person. Also, for the generations growing up, they can I'm really hoping that the education, and with all the awareness of technology coming in, it just doesn't go the wrong route, but the right truths can come out, and conversations can happen. And apart from that, if the industry holds even like 2% power of communicating a story and influencing the public, then I feel more directors can come in and be honest about the kind of stories, whether they're talking about the harsh reality or whether they not, like, but if it's the truth, it should be told. And that's what I'm going to hope for. Like, I hope that reaches, and not just a mad guy, because when I played that person, I know he's not mad, he's just curious, and nobody answered it. uh you know
No, sure. It definitely seems to address all those things. But I want to move on a bit and talk a bit more about you. I mean, from what I know of you, you do a lot of theater. You've done a lot of shorts. An opportunity like this, is so meaty for an actor. I mean, I
right.
mean, I can only imagine what a dream come true it would be, I think, for an actor to play such a role like this. But surely, to get an Agra, I'm sure there must have been a series of toils and turbulences in your life. Talk me through that journey of getting to Agra.
um Well, yeah, I mean, it was in 2019, and before all of that, I was doing like 4 or 5 plays in the year, and I was doing a lot of stage work. I had started directing a few music videos by then as well, and I was trying to mix my life between acting and directing. I also compose music, so some of that was on before Prashant Singh, the casting director, he got in touch and he told me about this uh, um film that is coming up, and it was because one of his assistants has seen me in theater, and so he called me, and I went for the audition, and on the first day of audition there were three slaps that I got to dive into the character, and I was like, okay, I've never gone through this. What just happened? Like, this is new. I've given audition, nobody slaps me, but it all worked, to be honest. Uh, I mean, the kind of scene that we were attempting and the kind of equation I had with them. Uh, but yeah, I mean, post the news, when Kanu saw my audition and he called me for workshops, they didn't give me a script till the third month. So I didn't know the full story or what I was diving into, to be honest. I still gave in 2 months because one, I like, because of theater, I like spending time on a project like 2 months, 3 months. It just, and I was going through a process which was a very new for me. It made me surrender into a new world, which was why I was curious. Apart from knowing Kanu from Titli, and I me I'm sorry, wanting to work with him, uh, I just gave in, and by the third month, I was pretty much part of the whole process. My workshops sometimes would be I wake up at 9. I take my coffee, I reach the workshop, I'm locked inside a room the whole day, and I'm out at night and I go home. And even that was a workshop, and for me for me it was like, okay, I don't know what's happening. I was supposed to be an actor, somebody talk to me, I'll do the scenes. But Kanu cleverly did not give me the scenes till like the third month, just a month before the shoot. And third month is when I got to know that I'm doing the film. So for the first 2 months I was part of a process without knowing whether I'm doing the film or not. uh,
Mm,
but I guess just how the process was moving, and how curious it made me, and how many things it changed inside me, is why I kept on going. And to even shoot this film was one difficult process because uh, luckily we did it like theater, like where the shoot felt like a show, which is like an extended workshop.
mm,
We had Priyanka and I had already done naked workshops. We had already uh, spent a lot of time on the gaze, a lot of time on doing those scenes over and over, which is why when we got to the shoot, it was just like doing those things, and thus it felt like a theatrical process, which was great actually, because if I would have just come in with a script and reached the set and tried to deliver them, I would be nowhere close. But yeah, post the film now. Again, I'm trying to make a balance between my acting and directing work, and I love stage. I can never quit stage. I love doing plays. The bliss that the live audience gives me is something that I can't match with anything else. Uh, but to be honest, I want to be part of at least 3 to 4 processes like Agra, which ends up changing me, and which is part of a real story. So that makes me excited to just keep on acting.
mhm. It's interesting you were talking about naked workshops, and I feel like last year was really momentous because I think Gehraya had employed an intimacy coordinator. It was
Yes,
the
yes,
first time an Indian film had that as well.
yes.
Do you
She's a
think
wonderful human, Neha. Yeah, yeah.
so? Was she working with you in Agra as well?
No, because we did feel that for this we just needed Kanu, me, and Priyanka to get in sync. uh, if we were in sync and okay with our bodies, I felt it, and I think Kanu really felt that he did not need an intimacy director because uh, those scenes just had to. It just had to be felt, and I don't think an intimacy director would have done anything differently, as long as Kanu, me, and Priyanka are on the same page, and we understand what we are attempting.
Hmm.
It's more in the head than the physical body, right? Uh, so I guess 4 months into the workshop, that's why we had prepared into it. Uh, and when we actually got to it, it it felt fine.
Right, right.
Although I haven't worked with an intimacy director, so I don't know how different it would be.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
think it's just I think why it's really great that we have that because I think there's been so many stories of sexual harassment on the
yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally get it.
so I think it's really good that I think Indian cinema has shifted towards that and awareness like you said is happening, but it's
Yes.
good to know that you guys felt comfortable and that's why it worked for you, so it's good to hear that. But tell
Yeah.
me, Mohit, what would you say is your inspiration behind you becoming a creative and an actor specifically?
Me, it was a play that I watched as a kid in National School of Drama, Delhi, when I was like 11 or 12 years old. When I saw these actors on stage who were teaching me, it was just, I knew that I had to be part of something like that. I had done some work as a child artist. I'd done a few ads, a couple of short films. And then I moved to England for university. But when I came back and I studied accounting and management, which was totally different. But um, I think there are actors like Nasiruddin Shah and actors like Kumud Mishra, and I've seen them work passionately at this age like a child and dissecting scripts, being vulnerable, and it just motivates you to keep on going and kind of knowing that the journey is endless. I mean, it you can't stop learning. Zakir Hussain can't suddenly say, "Okay, I've achieved playing tabla." He's always learning.
Yeah.
So for me, what I enjoy is the process, and this was one which made me live things, and I want to continue just being involved in different kind of processes and being more aware of what all exists.
Hmm. Right. Now, I think the biggest challenge I think actors today have is, of course, I mean, with social media emerging, I mean, of course, it's great to for influencers because I consider myself one as well, and I think it's great that we content create and all that. But I think at this stage where there is a commercial pressure, I feel a lot of actors that are facing,
Or
especially in the mainstream front of things. How do you stay focused and not allow that to get to your head or get immersed
yeah,
into
the
it?
best thing is I'm not that kind of guy. Like I can't make a random reel and keep doing it every day. Like I'm not that. I mean, to each its own. I mean, like there was a lot of talk about influencers walking the red carpet and so much going on. But for me, really, to each its own. As long as you're spending uh, equal amount of time in your art and in what actually goes in to become an actor, uh, then I like my best friend is all over Instagram, and I really hate it. Like for me, it's just not the same. I would rather sit and just read scripts or go meet people and talk about stuff, films, watch films. So it just depends on obviously this whole influencers situation has brought in a lot of opportunity for people to earn money from all over the place. Like even if they're in a remote city, they can now make money through that, and which is a great thing. Like it's a great thing. Saying that, uh, I don't think I take that pressure as an actor, because um, I like to stay busy in work and kind of trust that I if for my work I will end up getting work and be involved in projects anyway. So that's me particularly. There are obviously days I end up posting a lot, because if something, if you're doing a project, it's always good to put it out there, because a lot of casting directors, producers do visit social media platforms and see. So to do that is fine, but to have constant pressure of it and keep growing, or to have the numbers or the blue tick or all of that, I'm just not that guy. So for me it doesn't really matter.
Hmm, that's fair enough. But I think going forward, what sort of roles do you think you're very excited to do?
Nah, pretty much everything. Like I said, it's the kind of processes that make me happy. It's the kind of people that I work with makes me happy. As long as there's love within the team and we're all walking towards saying one story, it doesn't matter whether it's comedy, thriller, horror, whatever kind. Well, the kind of character I've just played now kind of opened my head to play anything, to be honest. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
and Now I'm more comfortable in my skin and kind of experimenting in more stuff. I'm actually curious to see if I play a character extremely poles apart, how will I go through that process and now approach that. And with every stuff that you do, you have certain level of awareness which you call experience coming into you. So I'm just curious to keep growing and be part of more stories. I'm also hoping that this made me 1% better director. So I'm also living that journey where I want to tell stories. So I'm trying to create a balance between both. And for me, it doesn't matter what kind of film, as long as it is part of some kind of truth, or it is with a team and a process that really inspires me.
Hmm. Well, on that note, Mohit, may you continue to grow and keep that balance in check. And thank you so much for joining me on Filmy Show Me, and a huge
Yeah.
congratulations on Nagra once again.
Thank you so much, Anuj. It has been absolutely amazing. I will come down to the UK soon, so I will see you.
You must, you must.